What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network as well as on the E! Network, as today we're talking Season 9, Episode 6 of Total Divas, entitled Mountain Mania. So, where we left off with the last episode was Ronda Rousey allegedly invited every member of the WWE Women's Division to her ranch for a weekend, week, whatever it was. I can't imagine it was more than a few days, just considering their busy schedules around WrestleMania time, for kind of like this girls' trip of sorts, just so Ronda could break this perception that the other women may have of her as being this, cancer in the women's division, trying to knock down what they're trying to build up, all this other stuff. She's trying to convince them that, hey, I'm a good person, and she is, and that I'm not here to hurt the business. So she says to Travis on, I think, either the last episode or the episode before that, I think it was the last episode, that she wanted to invite the women's roster to her ranch for a few days. I thought she said the entire women's roster. Clearly it wasn't, because only Natty and Sonya showed up, and they only showed the other women in the cast getting the invite, including Nia, Trinity, Natty, Sonya, and Carmella. Carmella didn't make it because she ditched them to go on a date with Corey Graves, who never gets a day off, and Carmella and Corey spent a few days together. Trinity couldn't make it due to house issues. She had issues at her house, whatever that means. She was never one showed on this episode. And then Nia Jax had to go to a fashion show that was being put on by the Bella Twins. So it was only Sonya and Natty that made it. And Sonya's talking with Natty before they go on the trip. And Natty asks her, oh, you ready to go to Ronda Rousey's house this weekend, whatever. And remember, Sonya a few episodes ago had this beef, apparently, at least in her mind, with Ronda Rousey, after she called out Ronda on Twitter, Instagram, whatever it was. I think it was Twitter, for, being a fake fighter, whatever. She mentioned her getting kicked in the head from when Ronda lost her first UFC fight a few years ago. And it was kind of a shot at Ronda in storyline. And then Ronda took a shot back at Sonya, calling her a hobbyist, also in character, kind of just giving back to Sonya what she dished out. And Sonya got all offended. She was like, oh, she's trying to undermine my accomplishments. She's calling me a hobbyist. What an insult. She hated Ronda Rousey after that, despite the fact that Ronda was only doing what Sonya had already done to her on Twitter when she called her out in the first place. If you can't take it, don't dish it out. I mean, it's as simple as that. I said that at the time, and it still stands here. But Sonya says at the beginning of this episode that she doesn't know where she stands with Ronda after what happened between them a few episodes ago. But she's going to the cabin anyway. Nia, as I mentioned, was asked to walk in the Bella's fashion show for Birdie B. Their spring line, I guess it is. So she also hangs with Paige while she's there, because Paige is also being involved. She's also involved in the fashion show. Natty hopes that everyone can get along while they're on the trip. She gets along with Ronda, even though that, fucking Natty's weird as shit, as we see a little later on in this episode. And she knows the weird relationship that Sonya has with Ronda right now, so she's just hoping that everyone can get along. While at the fashion show, Brie Mode returns. The famous Brie Mode, when Brie gets drunk and she parties with Nikki and Nia and Paige, and they all have a good time. Nia sees Nikki at the party with Artem, and they make it a point to show Nikki all over Artem, and Nia says, oh, I've never seen her happier, I've never seen her more in love, they have such great chemistry. And even Nikki brought up, oh, he's so passionate and all this other shit. Was that stuff really necessary? Maybe for the longer time viewers of the show that know Nikki's history with John Cena and may not have tuned into Total Bellas, where that whole thing unfolded about a year ago when they broke up and went their separate ways. And then Nikki got with Artem at the end of the last season, I believe. I think it was the end of the last season, a few months ago. But they make it a point to show that, and I'm like, stop shoving that in our faces. Not that I was a big fan of the Nikki Bella John Cena relationship to begin with, but it seems like she's just doing that to stay relevant. The same way that she had said in an interview not too long ago that Artem is way better in bed than John Cena. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a shit? I feel like that wasn't even the question. I feel like she only brought that up to shove that in John Cena's face, who was more heartbroken about it, I'm sure, than Nikki Bella is, because she was the one who dumped him. Really weird shit. But anyway, Ronda wants to convince the girls that she has the utmost respect for what they do by bringing them over to the ranch and having a good time. Trinity, like I said, can't make it due to house issues, whatever the hell that means. So only Natty and Sonya make it to the cabin. Sonya loves the farm. that Ronda has. Not that she grew up on a farm, but she's familiar with farms, I guess. I'm not sure. But she starts chasing the chickens around, and Ronda's not too happy with that. She's like, can you please stop? And she's kind of reaching her breaking point. That's really the only point of this episode where she's getting annoyed with what Sonya's doing. The fact that she's chasing her chickens around like a goof. And Ronda politely asked her to stop, and Sonya did it anyway, so that's kind of annoying. Anyway, so Ronda puts Natty in a room. The room that she's sleeping in has stuffed animals all over it. And I'm not talking about like, the type of stuffed animal you'll give to your girlfriend or something. I'm talking about like animals that were killed and stuffed. I forgot what the exact word for it is, but the stuffed animals, that's all I forgot the exact, not ventriloquist, but you know what I'm talking about. Taxidermy, maybe that's the exact word for it. There's all these dead animal heads all over the room that Natty's going to be staying in, and she's at this point second-guessing herself for coming on the trip in the first place. And Ronda has stuff planned for every day of this mini vacation. So Sonya's also second-guessing coming on this trip because she's like, if this is what she has planned for the beginning of this trip, I don't even want to know what she has planned for the end of it. So anyway, Natty is also kind of in a weird spot because she said, I like dogs. I like dogs. I like dogs. I like dogs. She says it like a million times. It's so fucking annoying. But she cleans up the dog pee and she's like, cats don't pee. They pee in their litter box. She clearly has a thing with dogs where dogs don't like her and she doesn't like the dogs. But she says, I like dogs. I don't mind dogs. I like dogs. Just fucking admit that you don't like the dogs. Just say you don't like dogs. That's it. She was so annoying trying to shove it in everyone's face. I like dogs. You don't like dogs, and the dogs don't like you. Just accept it and move on. Anyway, so Carmella, if you're wondering where she is, I already mentioned earlier, but she ditches the girls' trip to be with Corey. And she's that girl, but she has a very valid reason because Corey, I guess, doesn't get a lot of days off. They only see each other a minute a week, and this is their moment to kind of enjoy and appreciate their time together. The thing is that she doesn't tell the other girls about it. She tells them that, I missed my flight. I'll be there tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow. And she keeps saying, I'll be there tomorrow. She obviously never makes it, but she keeps lying to the girls that she's coming to kind of save face, even though Corey's not, too happy with the lying that Carmella's doing in this situation. Meanwhile, Ronda takes the girls out onto a walk out into the snow, where she talks about the end of the world approaching, where, in this type of situation where antibiotics run out, which I guess is only inevitable according to Ronda Rousey and all the research that she's done, and when people become zombies, she says, what would I do in that situation? So she's kind of freaking out Sonya, she's kind of freaking out Natty, she's kind of freaking me out talking about this shit, and maybe she has a point, but I really, at this current point, don't want to worry about what we're going to do X amount of years from now when antibiotics run out, and we have a bunch of zombies running around this place. I'd rather not think about that at this current moment, no matter how realistic that may be, or unrealistic, whatever. Either way, we see Nikki and Nia talking, and Nikki says that she can relate to Nia, who says that she's in a lot of pain. She downplayed it earlier when the Bellas asked about Nia's knee, and she's like, I'll be fine, I can still walk in the fashion show, blah, blah, blah. Nia confides to Nikki a little later on, and the viewers, I guess, because this was caught on camera, that she is in fact in a lot of pain. She's not feeling great. She's not happy. She feels like she lost herself and being on the road for so many years. She's been wrestling now nonstop for 4 or 5 years. And she has since lost herself being in wrestling for so long. And she doesn't really know where that line ends between her character and who she really is. So anyway, Nia and Paige have a good time walking in the fashion show soon after. Ronda, meanwhile, tries archery with the girls. And she obviously does great because she's up at that cabin every other weekend, essentially, practicing archery. Sonya feels like Ronda's testing her because Sonya doesn't do all that well. Actually, Natalya does better than Sonya. And Sonya feels like Ronda's testing her to see if she can do all the things that she can do, that Ronda can do. And she obviously can't. She can't do the archery. So Sonya makes shoveling, what they do next, very competitive. She says, whoever can shovel their lane the fastest wins. And it's not really a competition, but she wants to prove to Sonya, or rather Sonya wants to prove to Ronda, that she can do everything that she can do. That she is every bit as competitive as Ronda Rousey is, even though she's only competitive if whoever she's with is competitive, okay? So Sonya's trying to make this into a big competition, make it out to be a big deal, and then they play pool, where Sonya and Natty win, and as punishment for losing, Ronda Rousey has to take chops right on the chest from Sonya and Natty. Natty's, I don't think, was too bad. Sonya's hurt a little more, and then you could visibly see Ronda's red chest right after that when she's sitting down with everyone else. And I should mention, too, Travis was obviously there. Roderick strong with Marina Shafir and a few other of Ronda's friends and Travis's friends. So yeah, Roderick Strong makes a cameo on Total Divas, which is kind of cool. He doesn't really do much, but it was cool to see him nonetheless with his husband, with his wife, rather, Marina Shafir. So anyway, where was I? In my notes here. So Sonya and Natty beat Ronda and Pool. Then we see Carmella and Corey, where Corey asks Carmella, and I forgot where they are at this current point, but Corey asks Carmella, I think they're in the Northeast at this point, if she would ever ask, or would she ever move to the Northeast with him? And she can't really give him a clear answer, and it's not as big of a deal as the whole Sonya and Ariana thing, where Ariana doesn't want to move and Sonya doesn't want to move, and that's really not that big of a deal because they both live in Florida. Corey lives in the Northeast. Carmella lives in Fort Lauderdale in Florida. So it's a big distance, it's a very long distance relationship. So they don't really come to a conclusion on that. But while there, Natty calls Carmella. And then Carmella lies to her saying, I'll be on the flight, tomorrow. I'm taking a red-eye flight, blah, blah, blah. I missed my flight yesterday. So she's still continuing to lie, even in the face of Corey Graves, who does not approve of this whatsoever. So this is where things get weird. Natty puts peanut butter on the inside of her legs because she wants to endear herself to the dogs. Because the whole story throughout this episode is that she's not a dog person, but she wants to show Ronda and Travis that, I like dogs, and the dogs like me. So to try to entice the dogs to go up to her and lick her and whatever, she puts peanut butter on the inside of her thighs. And even Sonya, who's a weird person herself, agrees that this is one of the weirdest things and one of the weirdest, fucking strangest, oddest, disgusting things that she has ever seen. She also puts peanut butter. She's like eating it. She puts it on her cleavage because she later gets caught when the dogs go up to her. And Ronda goes, why is there peanut butter on the dog? And then Sonya sees the peanut butter in Natty's cleavage. And then Ronda notices it too. And she's like, Natty, what the fuck? And Travis is like, this is also weird. Everyone is in agreement at this point that this is one of the weirdest things they have ever seen. And they're like, Natty, she's so weird. But this is especially strange. That's fucking weird. She put it on the inside of her pants so the dog would come up to her. That is so weird. And on her cleavage too? Come on. That's where I turn the show off. But I continue to watch anyway. I don't know why, but I did. Probably because I wanted to review the show, as I do every single week here on the channel. So anyway, Nia admits to the Bellas that she doesn't really feel like herself anymore. That she doesn't really feel like she can be herself with other women on the road. Ever since the Bellas retired, Paige had to retire. With them gone, there was really no one on the road that she could be herself with anymore. I thought Alexa Bliss would be that person, but maybe they're not legit friends anymore. I'm not sure. She didn't mention that here. They had a falling out on TV a few years ago, but we also haven't seen them in any videos together. I'm not really sure what their relationship is. I'm sure they're still friends, but I thought that was just kind of weird. Anyway, Nia goes on to say to the Bellas that she needs the time to heal physically and mentally because being on the road for so long has physically and mentally burned her out. And in addition to that, she feels like she was kind of scared that she was being a bitch for no reason to all these other people, but now she knows it probably has to do with the pain. And Nikki can relate to that because she was in pain for so long on the road that she was also not herself for such a long time. But, Nia is also in that same spot now where she's in pain and that she recognizes that she needs the time to kind of rebound, to kind of find herself, recharge the battery, so to speak. And Nikki recommends, after Nia brings up that she's been rude lately to Carmella and she's been rude lately to... Did she say Sonya? She said someone else. I think Sonya. Maybe Sonya, definitely Carmella. That, Nikki just recommends sending them gratitude gifts because, to kind of make up for all the rude things that Nia's done to them and all the, inappropriate things and being mean and being rude, all this other stuff. And Nia's like, yeah, it's a good idea. I'll probably do that to kind of make it up to these ladies. Whether she ever did that or not, she probably didn't. And not that that's always necessary. A gratitude gift isn't really an absolute must. But at the very least, Nia should go up to all these women that she's offended lately on TV. I mean, she did to Ronda, which was nice a few episodes ago. But she has yet to really apologize to Carmella. And she's being rude to her for absolutely no reason. She may not like her which is whatever, but she doesn't have to be a complete bitch. So anyway, back to the Ronda Rousey camp. She admits that she's probably been coming off a bit threatening lately when it comes to how she comes across in the segments and the other women and stuff like that, which is probably why they may not like her or may not feel that she's respecting the business, whatever. Corey says, while they're on the beach, him and Carmella, he tells her, like, listen, if you're lying to your friends about something so trivial, about going on a girls trip, then how would I know to trust you? How do I know that you're telling the truth or when you're lying or whatever? And Carmella's like, oh, that's a good point. So she calls the girls and she feels really bad about it. She's getting really anxious. So she calls them and tells them, listen, I've been lying to you. I apologize. Corey just had time off. I probably should have told you from the get-go. Sonya says that she suspected it from the beginning. But Carmella just says, listen, I'm sorry. I'll see you guys soon. And they're all great with it. It goes fine. So the girls do, that being Ronda, Natty, and Sonya, do high-altitude training, during which, and Sonya is still kind of on edge with Ronda, Ronda goes up to Sonya and says, listen, I didn't mean any of what I said. I apologize. The only reason why I called you a hobbyist and all this other shit was because you called me out on Twitter first. So if I have an issue with you, I will go to you in person. Otherwise, if it's on Twitter and all that other stuff, it's definitely just an angle, which I thought was really cool. And Sonya also respected that. She's like, yeah, you know what? I respect her for that. That took a lot of balls for her to say that. So they make up, and they're kind of on the same page now. And that's what closed out this episode, episode 6 of season 9 of Total Divas, called Mountain Mania. So, yeah, another good episode. Check out season 9, episode 7, coming in next Tuesday on the E! Network at 10 p.m. And my reviews every single week right here on the channel. They may sometimes be a day or two late. I try to get them up on Fridays. Last week was the exception, just with Halloween and such a busy weekend. But this one should be up on Friday, and next week should also be up on Friday. In case, unless something happens at the last minute, Saturdays are usually my SmackDown review day, and Fridays are usually my Total Divas review days. And I do watch the shows live, but I just don't put up the reviews until Fridays because I have other content going up on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So anyway, guys, thank you for checking out the show. As always, appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content. We'll be back next week, as I said earlier, with an all-new review of Total Divas Season 9, Episode 7. The season finale is quickly approaching. As I said last week, they are promoting, I think, 4 more episodes, including next week's. Episodes 7, 8, 9, and 10, which would culminate, with my math, I think, in the first week of December. Let's see. This week was the 5th. That was episode 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so 10 would air in the first week of December. I want to say December 3rd. And that's going to be it for season 9 of Total Divas. It's quickly coming up. It's coming up quickly, and the season has really gone by fast. But at any rate, guys, have a great rest of your weekend. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.